Hi, everyone. It's Henry DeVries from Agency Rainmaker TV. This is the show where we help you make it rain with right fit clients. And with me today is an author and a management coach, an executive coach and consultant, Bob Kaplan. Bob, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks so much, Henry.
So I'm so excited to have you talk about something today because I teach that there are three different ways to write a business book. And I learned something from you. There's a fourth way, and we'll be talking about that. But first, let's talk about who you serve at your company.
We serve senior managers and exclusively senior managers for 30 plus years. Carve out your niche, stick to your knitting, get better and better at what you do. I will tell you that we work with individual executives, including CEOs, but also teams and even the senior level of an organization. Sometimes also the CEO COO combination or variations on that theme, which is an unlikely combination. So
Well, and I don't want to make you sound old, but you were a pioneer in this. 30 years ago, being an executive coach was people would say, "What's that?" Really, you
exactly.
were at the forefront, weren't you? So, what do you do for them specifically?
Well, I will say that the big talk about rainmaking. If you're the first one or one of the first ones in a niche that suddenly catches on, there's no problem getting work. So we just backed into that with you know lady luck smiling at us. So your question again, Henry?
So, what do you do for these executives?
As individuals, we use input from the people that they work with to help them see what they're good at and what they need to improve at. And then we sit with them for a day, day and a half to help them relate to this input and then make good use of it. I will also say that we always put their leadership in the context of their lives. Where has this person come from in life? What have been the formative influences? And we also get a sense of them, at least from them, on what they're like outside of work. Often there are parallels between, for example, being a manager and being a parent.
Makes a lot of sense. So, we have a saying here that a book is the number one marketing tool. Speaking about the book is the number one rainmaking strategy. So let's talk about your book, Grappling, because as I mentioned, usually I say there's three ways to write a book. You can write a 10 chapter book about a process or a system. You can write a 20 essay book that positions you as an authority in a certain area and you're giving people aha insights. And then a third way is a fictional tale, like The One Minute Manager or the Go Giver by Bob Berg or The Richest Man in Babylon, some story, Greatest Salesman in the World, Og Mandino, some fable or story. But you developed something new. It was a series of short stories based on truth in Hollywood, based on a true story, but things disguised, so we don't really know who these people really are. But the truth of their stories comes through so loud and clear. Bob, how did you come to write the book this way?
I have been writing professionally for decades, and I was yearning for a new way to offer some of what I've learned. And it just occurred to me, why don't you try fiction? Now, that was interesting because I did not know how to write fiction. I didn't know the first thing about writing fiction. So I would do what I do when I want to learn something new. I found that one of the best people at tutoring and editing a person in fiction and he helped me learn fiction by working on each of the eight stories in that book. So that's how that came to be. I am normally asked by managers to tell them what a story, a case study means, and what they're supposed to do about it. These are literally short stories, as you say, Henry. You finish the short story, and it's up to you to take away what would be useful to you. And early on, we're hearing that people find that a very fruitful way to learn, and they can relate to the people in the story one way or the other. And it seems like this new method is working.
I see a lot of possibilities for it. I could see in a workshop, instead of just making them work, it would be like at the Harvard Business School. You read a case, and then you have a discussion about the case. Your stories, as a reader of them, they stick with me. Some of these people, like, oh yeah, I know that, or oh man, I've done that myself, and you relate to these people. So that's so great. There was a nugget. You had a gold nugget in there, and I just wanted to explore it a little. And it was like, how do I learn anything? We always say, how would you learn how to walk through a minefield? Would you read a book? Would you take an online course? Would you watch a YouTube video, TikTok? No, you'd find somebody who knows how to walk through minefields. They would take you by the hand, not let you make a mistake until you could do it by yourself. And then probably you're going to teach other people how to get through minefields. So
So
that's
good
called the
call.
master apprentice method of learning. It is definitely the best way to learn. And that's been your experience, hasn't it?
It has been, and it's interesting you say that because in these stories, I refer to the helper as a guide. The guide says, "Hey, I'm not. I like to call myself a guide," and one of the characters says, "Guide? What's that supposed to mean?" But it's a guide that we're talking about. Somebody who knows this terrain better than you can and show you the way, but also keep you out of harm's way.
Yeah. I've heard other analogies, some of my financial advisor, author clients about it's like climbing a mountain or it's like cutting through a jungle. Um, so it's all these things where we need a guide. And it's just very intuitive to us that, yeah, that is the best way that human beings learn. Well, Bob, is there anything else to add before we bring this to a close?
Well, grappling itself, uh, let's say you want to change in some way, you're required to change in some way, but you're not able to make that change. Something's in the way. Often it's in your mind, in your mindset. And grappling means putting your finger on what that thing that's in the way. And like a misguided belief or an unwarranted fear or an overheated desire, put it on the table, grapple with it, and somehow get it out of the way so that you can change.
I always think of those wrestlers back in high school, the grapplers. So thank you so much for being with us today, Bob. And that's another episode of Agency Rainmaker TV. Until we get back together again, make it rain.